Someone told me today that the podcast about the public inquiry had become essential breakfast listening, and for an instant I was like a rabbit frozen in the headlights. Whilst I make the effort to gather the day's information and then work on it to turn it into something that people might actually listen to, I kind of never expect anyone to listen, so it always comes as a surprise when someone mentions it. It seems I have unwittingly stumbled upon some latent skill buried deep, which upon release has turned me into a podcaster that I didn't know I wanted to be when I grew up. However, here we are. Back to the business of today. Some very big topics covered today. Each one of them would merit their own podcast. We range from money laundering to policing to explosives to timetables and everything in between. After some early questions of clarity by the Commission to Dalradian, Linda Sullivan was first out of the blocks for the third parties with a question for Dalradian, asking how can they calculate 4%, which is due to the Crown Estate for all gold mine, if they don't know what's in the concentrate. The reason this question was asked, as there was a court case in Northern Ireland in which an employee of Galantas, the only other gold mine in Northern Ireland, recently abandoned, was reprimanded for whistleblowing after allegedly manipulating in-house laboratory gold yield figures to make the situation appear a tad more favourable for investors. So naturally, we, the third parties, are concerned. Cormac McAleer drew the attention of the Commission to the number of name changes Dalradian has had over the years, as they've been here from the 1970s. While there's nothing wrong with this whatsoever, he also pointed out that there have been numerous shell companies created by Dalradian. He noted that statutory bodies have a responsibility to implement appropriate fraud prevention measures. He suggested that factors such as the potential presence of complex corporate structures, possible gaps in due diligence, limited transparency, when combined with optimism bias, could pose risks, including potential social costs and implications for the public purse. So, Mary Brawley then highlighted the following. Gold laundering is an issue that we believe is of critical importance to any devolved government. When it comes to gold mining operations anywhere in the UK, it should be central to discussions on public revenue. In November 2023, the UK National Crime Agency, NCA, issued a red alert titled Gold-Based Financial and Trade Sanctions Circumvention to raise awareness. It highlights the importance of due diligence and notes that enablers often try to obstruct others from carrying out those checks. The NCA, the Royal United Services Institute, and the Financial Action Task Force, all of which the UK has long been involved with, identify key red flag warning signs of gold laundering. These include things like sudden changes to company names, firms registered in tax havens despite operating elsewhere, and complex webs of shell companies spread across multiple jurisdictions. A December 2025 OECD policy brief on illicit flows of gold concentrates also warns that the global trade in unrefined, containerised gold is particularly vulnerable to exploitation. It recommends stricter licensing and better monitoring of processing plants, traders and smelters to improve traceability. Now, to be absolutely clear, raising these issues isn't about pointing the finger at any one company or any specific project. It's about recognising that these risks exist globally and they're well documented. What we're really getting at here is this: gold laundering isn't some niche issue, it's a major global problem. and governments ignore it at their peril. If Northern Ireland or anywhere in the UK is serious about developing gold mining, then tackling this has to be part of the conversation from day one. We already know the playbook. Criminal networks hide behind renamed companies, offshore registrations, and layers of shell corporations to disguise where gold is coming from and where the money is going. Even the trade in raw gold concentrates before it's refined is now recognised as a weak point that may be exploited. So the question isn't whether the risk exists, it clearly does. The real question is whether departments like DFI or DFE or the wider executive have actually put safeguards in place to deal with it. Because if they haven't, they're potentially leaving the door open to a system that drains billions from the public purse here and across the world. When DFI were asked if due diligence had been carried out, the response was, it wouldn't be usual, adding that in my understanding, there are separate regimes who deal with this. Excuse me in advance, but what the I won't say it. What kind of response is that? It is breathtaking in its casualness, in its indifference, in its lack of accountability, in its complacency, in its sheer abnegation of duty. Mary Brawley suggested that was a highly unusual answer, added that we've just alerted the department to a source of hypothetical fraud with a potential source of billions of lost revenue, and their response is this. You could not make it up. From here, we moved on to policing, which quickly led us to the fact that 44,000 tonnes of explosives are being used during the life of the mine, and how was the policing costed by the applicants, and where did it appear in the magic invisible economic modeller? When asked by the Commission, is policing required for the proposal, Mr Beattie, counsel for Dalradian, answered, it is a matter of assessment by PSNI on a page-by-page basis, seeming to suggest that no policing would be needed. He seemed to forget that we were in Northern Ireland, envisioning the police dropping off the explosives at the gate of the mine and then going back to the station. So yes, they eventually clarified that there was no calculation of policing costs. All in a climate of heightened dissident terrorist activity, with a car bomb going off outside a police station in the last 10 days, and national security alert escalation. And then we have the readily available explosive materials down at the mine. Roll up, get your Sentex here. Other topics covered today were, while there might be blasting twice a day, it's now termed as extensive, meaning it could be going on several phases of the mine at the same time. I'm not sure what the implications of this are, except it doesn't sound good. We also discussed the closure of the mine and the associated bond costs. Both this and the blastings will be covered on the Don't Mine Us website in the next 24 to 48 hours, so look for the details there. Finally, there was another attempt to sort out the timetable. No progress yet. We should know more on Tuesday. And that's it for another week. Thanks for still listening to me, and we'll see you soon.